Hi, welcome to the next episode of Fast Money. In this episode, I'm going to talk about income and consumptions, or others known the cost of life. Basically, this question is there always in your minds, that how you can manage your income and then how you can manage your costs in life, because you're trapped in this scheme of earning an amount of money and then spending that amount back. So at the end of the month, neither that you could save, you are facing this financial stability problem that you do not have enough of money to support your life with. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about how to manage this income and how to manage these consumptions. Of course, there would be a second video on corporate consumptions and income for companies or for startups, for individuals that are new in the financial markets and they do not know how they could manage better their consumptions and their income to be successful. So let's get on to the private life consumptions and income management. First of all, income is the amount of money that you're earning on a monthly basis or a weekly basis or another period in time. That amount of money could be earned from a stable job, from private business, from private activities, from social media, or freelancing. So when you're getting an amount of money, when you're earning an amount of money in your mind, automatically there is this working scheme that you are trying to figure out how you can manage your life with it. Of course, to the side, you have fixed costs that are to be bared. For example, you're paying rent, you're paying your bills, you're paying your insurance, you're paying for clothes, you're paying for groceries, and you're paying for parties, and then you're going out. That amount of money that is going out, you think you have this thought in your mind that it is not manageable and you cannot manage it and you cannot bring any changes to it, because you think due to the consumption habit that it is not in your hand. But at the end of this video, you're gonna have this feeling and understanding that it is in your hand, and actually you can control the costs and consumptions, because there is a specific factor about costs that when you consider, then you would tell yourself that, okay, from this day on, I'm going to control my consumptions and I'm going to control my costs, so I could have a better life, I could have a saving, and then I could have financial stability. So the working of income is as following. When a person, an individual, let's say on average, who is between the ages of 20 and 30, they're going to have a very projected standard in life in their minds. For example, when a person is earning 2,000 euros or dollars netto per month, so they're going to have this standard of life. They're going to say, okay, I can buy this much of groceries, I can buy myself a specific quantity of clothes, or I could pay, or I could afford this type of house. But the moment the income increases, the person increases its standard of life, and then cost and consumption increases with it dramatically. So, and the person comes to this point and this understanding that, okay, I'm now going to change my standard of life. I'm going to eat more. I'm going to go to expensive restaurants. I'm going to buy expensive clothes, and then I'm going to pay more, and then I'm going to have more bills. So there is this trick in income and costs. So if you want to be rich, if you want to have more money, for you, controlling these both factors is of very high importance, because the same as controlling and keeping the standard of life stable until a breaking point. Of course, you do not need your whole life to be earning more and spending less, but there is a breaking point. When you reach that breaking point, after that, you can increase your standard of life. So do not increase your standard of life dramatically when your income increases. Just keep it for a while, keep it for a moment stable. The extra money that you're earning, save it, put it to a side so you could start a business with it, or you could save it and then you could use it later in time, because saving is the very big insurance. And then when you have that insurance with yourself, it is confidence. It's going to give you a very high morale, and it's going to increase your self-esteem, and then it's going to decrease your stress, and it's going to give you optimism about the future and about the life. Think about yourself. You're having some of the inevitable consumptions that you cannot ignore them, of course, like rent, like insurance, like groceries and clothing. These are the costs that you have to bear. But apart from that, you have to reconsider each of the points of the costs, each of these factors, and then decrease your consumptions and the amount of money that you're giving, you have dedicated for that part. Because it is this point, either there are two ways in life to get rich. Either your income is going to increase, you have to keep your costs stable until you reach that breaking point, or if your income is not increasing, so you have to move the other way around. You have to decrease your costs until a point that you reach that breaking point, and then you can increase your standard of life. So do not increase the standard of life dramatically when your income increases. That is a trap. That is a booby trap, I would say, because you fall in it and then nothing in life would change. You're earning more and then at the same time you would be spending more, and then you would be trapped in this job mechanism, and then you would be working again. It doesn't matter how good a job you're doing, you're not going to have more money and then you're not going to get rich. So about the fixed factors like rent, like groceries, like clothes, like party money, that is the amount when your income is fixed. So think about them, reconsider them. If you're living in a house where you're paying more rent, try to find another house where you're paying 200 less rent. So these small amounts of money play a very vital role in leading you to a degree where you can save a lot of money. Then go to the groceries and eating part, because if you're eating always every day outside, you're eating pizza, you're buying burgers, calculate the cost of them. For example, you're going out and you're buying a burger. So every burger is going to cost you, for example, let's say $10 or 10 euros. And then a pizza is going to cost 12 to 15 euros if they are cheap. And then, of course, you're having a breakfast. So it's going to, let's calculate it, 10 euros or $10. So the total of that becomes 35 euros or $35. And then if we multiply that by 30, which is the whole amount of days in a month, so it would reach to 1,050 euros or dollars. That is a lot of money for a life, for an individual, for an average individual, for example, for a youngster that is spending on eating. But instead, what you can plan is at the beginning of the month, create a list for yourself. In this list, write all the stuff down that you need. For example, you need pasta, you need meat, you need potatoes, onions like chilies, yogurt, beans, peas, fruits, vegetables. And then when you buy it from a grocery store, just create a weekly plan for that. So, and then budget for it. For example, when you go to the supermarket, you buy a bag of eggs, let's say the very high quality eggs. A bag of eggs is going to cost $3.25 or let's say 4. That bag of 10 pieces of eggs contains 10 eggs. And if you eat 2 eggs every morning, so that is 5 days of breakfast. Of course, you're going to buy tomatoes beside it, some mozzarella, and then vegetables, all of it. If you sum up all of these products that you're buying for your breakfast, they're not going to add up more than 35 euros for the whole week. And then the same way you can calculate your cost for lunch and dinner, because you could buy meat, of course. With this way, you could create a plan that you could buy 2 kilograms of meat like beef, and then chicken, for example, let's say beef costs 15 to 20. If you buy 2 kilos, it's 30 euros or $30. And then at the same time, let's say 12 euros for the chicken breast. And then that is 22 euros or 24 euros as well. So if you add both of them, that is 54 euros. It means the total cost of your consumption would be like around 100 euros or $100 in a week. This is a very stable planning. If you shrink the planning, the financial planning, so your weekly budget for a very healthy diet is 100 euros or $100 per week. So this way you're saving 350 euros or dollars in just a month on your groceries. After that, there is, of course, the cost of clothes. Of course, there is an amount of residual costs to the side. Because when you're not eating at home, when you're eating always outside, there are some costs that you're buying snacks here and there, 10 euros, $5. And then you don't know it, but at the end of the month, it's just gonna be, you'll be surprised that $200, $300, $400 or euros are just gone like that, and you don't understand it. How did I spend this money? So it is this mechanism of buying outside and then becoming a habit, and then you would not notice it, and then you cannot save money. And then there is this tricky part about clothing. Individuals are thinking, okay, if we buy cheap stuff, for example, like a clothing that costs 35 euros, then I'm gonna buy in the next month again another type of clothes, and then I would stay active and stay updated with the fashion. Of course, it is true, you can stay updated with the fashion, but then you're gonna bear a lot of costs, because the products that are sold cheap, for example, these fast fashions, then they're not going to last long. If you buy it and wear it just 1, 2, 3, or 4 times, then it would be consumed, and then you would get stuck in this consumption cycle, and then you would not be able to get out of it. So it would mean that you're working and buying and consuming, working, buying and consuming, working and buying and consuming, and then you would always be in the stress of financial stability, that you would be thinking, okay, you have to work, and then you're trapped, and then you feel yourself like being imprisoned. But there, to the the side, there is this plan of buying clothes, which is seasonal and 2 times in a year. So first you buy it in the beginning of the year, and then the second you buy it in the middle of the year. These ways of buying and moving on with the financial planning just gives you a stability, because the product, the pants, let's say for example, the pants that you buy for €100 or $100 at the beginning of the year, and then it would last for more than 1, 2, 3 years. And then the styles of pants do not change that much. And it does not matter if there are a lot of changes to it. And the second part is, if you're buying t-shirts, clothes, sweaters, or jackets, they follow the same trend. A jacket, you could buy a very good jacket, quality jacket, like 150, 200 or 300, and it's going to stay with you for 2-3 years or even more. So this way you get to cut on average $300 to $400 or euros from your clothing consumptions. And then if we add that one to the consumption that you save from rent and from groceries, let's say on average you save 300 plus 550 is 850. So it means on monthly basis you save 850 euros or dollars. But if you do not do this, if you go with the normal process, there is this trick about consumption. Let's say you're spending 8 hours in a daily basis to earn 100 euros. So this 8 hours that you spend, the case, let's consider further the case that you can save this 100 euros. But if you do not, it will mean 3 things. First, you waste that 8 hours of life that you invested in order to get that money. Let's take it factor 1. 100 euros or $100. The second factor is the possibility that you could keep these $100. This is factor 2. And then the next possibility is, if you consume it, you have to work 8 hours again to earn this $100 or 100 euros, which makes it factor 3. So let's add up all these factors. So 8 hour work, 8 hour consumption, and 8 hour work again. So that is $300 or 300 euros total. So the moment that you are spending $100 or 100 euros, the time that you have invested, you're not spending $100. But if you try to earn that again, it becomes $300. So it's like $300 to earn back. This is the tricky part about consumptions. You do not consume, and then you do not have to consume. Because for financial stability, it's very important for you to consider this trick of consumption, this trick of money, how the money works. So this way you're smart enough about consuming money, and then you would be cautious about what you spend, because if you try to earn that again, you have to go all the way through the cycle. But then you would have this in your mind, why don't I keep it in the first place? Go down to the previous episodes. There I'm showing you how you can start your startup business. So then when you have this savings, and then you could use this savings to start your own business, to start your own startup, and then be free from this trap of corporate working or being an employee your whole life. And then you would have the freedom to have your own company, to have your own startup, to provide your own product or to provide your own service. And then you would get to enjoy the part of life that you're born to enjoy. In a nutshell, we're going to go through again. I explained the income, the earning of income, the relationship between income and cost, the standard of living. Because when you earn a level of income, in this level of income, you would be having that, okay, I am earning this much of money, and then you would automatically increase the products that you're buying and this life that you're going to get, or you're projecting it in your mind, and then you would spend all the money that you have. This becomes your standard of life, the products that you're buying. You'd say, okay, this brings me satisfaction. But the real satisfaction would be if you save this money. That would be the real happiness, because it will bring you confidence, it will bring you self-esteem, and it will decrease your stress and pressure to a degree that you have never thought about it before. And beside it, it's going to give you that freedom of movement. This is the very tricky part, because in working and in a job, there is this part where people cannot move, because if you're earning an amount of money and then you're spending it, at the end of the month, you would have this fear of losing your job. But if you have an amount of savings, then it's going to give you that freedom of movement, and then you could move up. Of course, if you don't want to have a startup and then you say, okay, I'm good with working, all right, stay with that plan. It could be a good plan for you, but then at least have that freedom of movement, because if you do not have that freedom of movement, you will stay in that job and then your life is not going to change. Only if you have that saving, 850 euros or dollars a month, then it's going to give you that flexibility point. And when you reach that flexibility point, you're easily moving. So During the video and the contents, I talk about a breaking point. The breaking point is a point in life where you say, okay, I have this amount of money, you have a saving, your income has increased dramatically, tremendously, and then this increase of income has been going for at least 4 years. So in this roundabout of 4 years, let's say you're saving 850 euros a month, and then if we sum it up, you're gonna be probably saving $10,000 or 10,000 euros a year, which is a very huge amount of money for youngsters who is between the ages of 18, 20 and 30, and it's going to give you a lot of confidence, a lot of point of movement. And then if in 4 years that is going to be like 50,000, and in these 40,000 you could do a lot of things. You can invest it, you can take a loan with it from the bank, you can buy a house, and then you could buy a car, you can buy a beautiful car, you can go on a trip, you can go on a vacation. So this is the freedom that it's going to give to, or maybe even you could start your own startup. 40,000 is a lot of money to start with any type of startup and make it successful. So this is the working of money, costs and income. Try to keep your income stable. Do not increase your costs dramatically when your income increases. Try to be cautious, plan your costs, plan your consumptions as I explained it in the video. Try to be controllable on what you spend, on where you give out the money. First, you need to ask yourselves, why do I need to give this money out? Because money is value. To earn that value, you have given a value, which is your life, and then you're not getting that back. But the money that you're spending, you have to work again. You have to work that value again. You have to put that much energy again in order to get that money. But that money is something you cannot get, because if you try to get that money, remember the three factors. These three factors are going to be in play, and it's going to become very difficult. So you're going to owe yourself 300 extra until you get that point to just get that $100 that you just spent. So follow and subscribe to know more about the workings of money.